All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the first part of the video for section 2.3. And in this section, we'll be getting into some applications, some fairly straightforward, but some that get a little bit heavy on applications of linear functions. And I should say, if you're watching this video and have not already started or at least looked at the homework for section 2.3, it'd be a really good idea to do that because some of those problems there are quite involved. Okay, so let's get into this. So first of all, as I mentioned, some of the problems from section 2.3 are quite involved, and they either involve a lot of steps or a little complex to set up, or sometimes a combination of both of those things. And unfortunately, I can't sit here and tell you how to solve one of those problems every single time. It's not like when I tell you how to take the slope or find the slope between 2 points, there's a formula for that you can use every single time. Here, in some of these problems, we don't have that, but there are kind of some general approaches I can give you. So the first one, and I'm not going to go through these 8 things line by line, but there's some things I want to point out. So the first thing would be to read the problem, to identify all the important information, and to identify changing quantities, or really what you're looking for there are things that you can come up with variables to represent, because in a lot of these problems you need to set up an equation of some sort, and you'll need to have variables representing certain quantities, and you need to figure out what those variables are going to represent. Also, a really important and helpful tool for this, or a lot of these types of problems, is to sketch a picture or define a coordinate system. Okay, it turns out that making a picture can be a really powerful tool, even though it may seem really simple. Okay. Also, reading the problem, identify what you're trying to find, identify, solve, or interpret. I find that this is a part that a lot of students get tripped up on, is trying to just figure out what it is you're looking for. Often, once you know that, then going about the problem can be much more straightforward. Another one, once you've collected all that information, before you start setting up equations or doing any calculations, is to do what's called identify a solution pathway. So basically, think about what are you going to do to solve this problem? What's it going to take? Okay? And that might be something a little bit different in every problem that you work on, because this chapter is about linear functions. Probably, you're going to set up a linear function of some sort. So make sure that you think about that before you actually do it. And then once you've thought about that, then as it says here, find a formula or an equation, solve that, and then really important, think about whether your answer is reasonable or not. If you're trying to figure out how much gas it's going to take to drive from one point to another, and you end up with an answer of -4 dogs, well, you probably made a mistake somewhere. You may want to go back and check. Okay, and then another important step is when you're writing your answers, and this won't be so much for your 1-map homeworks, but definitely for things that you turn in to me or that we do together, make sure you think about what are the units on your answers. Okay? All right, so let's put some of this into practice here on this problem. And you know, this one is actually probably one that like fits into a lot of your lives, so you're probably going to find it pretty relevant. So because you're such a big fan of Queen Beyonce, you've made plans to spend your spring break traveling to Houston, Texas to visit the birthplace of the greatest artists of our time. Now, I know right now, as this video is being recorded, we are in the middle of a pandemic in Texas. Things are not going so well, but you know, it never hurts to plan just in case you can potentially go there. As part of your travel plans, you'll be renting a car. You find 2 different rental companies that offer the following rates. So with company A, it's 32 cents per mile driven. For company B, you pay a base rate of $24 plus 19 cents per mile driven. Okay, and we need to figure out how many miles we need to drive so that company B's rates are preferable. Now, first of all, let's think about if this question makes any sense at all, right? Because notice company A is only going to charge you 32 cents per mile, and that's it. Company B is going to charge you $24 as a base rate and then 19 cents per mile driven. So hopefully you see that initially Company A is a much better value, right? Because you're only paying 32 cents a mile and that's it. Whereas, Company B's got that extra $24 fee. However, do we see that eventually Company B will be the better deal? Well, hopefully you do, because the per mile rate for Company B is lower, right? They're only charging you 19 cents per mile. Okay, so let's go through this. So first thing I need to do is to identify some variables for some things. And we're trying to figure out how many miles, and we're also trying to figure out where company rates B's are preferable. So what that tells me is that I probably need a variable for miles. So I'm going to call that M. Okay, and then Company B's rates are preferable. So probably what we're also worried about is cost, right? So I'm going to let C equals cost. And notice with that now, and with the information we're given, we can set up some equations to represent the amount it would cost us with each company, right? So like, for example, for Company A, we're told that the price is 32 cents per mile. So it looks like we could set up an equation there to something like C equals 0.32 times M. Right, so what we're saying is the cost is equal to 0.32, that 32 cents times the number of miles. Hopefully that makes sense. And then for Company B, right, our cost in this case, well, the per mile is 19 cents, so it would be 0.19 M. But we also have to have that plus 24, right, because there's that initial $24 cost. Okay. So now what are we going to do with these to figure out where Company B's rates are preferable? Well, again, we know that Company A is initially cheaper, right? Because if we only go like 1 or 2 miles, it's going to cost way less than Company B. But eventually, because the per mile cost of B is cheaper, B will be cheaper. So what might we look for here? Well, you probably want to figure out when the cost for each is the same, right? And how would we do that? Oh, right, that thing we learned before about finding the intersection point of two lines, which means we should take this equation here and set them equal to one another, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll take the 0.32 M, set it equal to the 0.19 M plus 24. We can subtract 0.19 M from both sides. Okay, when we do that, 0.19s here cancel. So we'll have, let's see, 0.13 M equals 24, I do believe. Yep. Now you can divide by 0.13 on both sides. Okay, and if we do that, these will cancel. And we'll end up with M equals, if we divide the 24 by 0.13, looks like we get 184.615, and the units there, the M's are miles. And let's think about what this answer means, right? What happens at 184.615 miles? Well, that's going to be the case where the cost for both companies is the same, right? So prior to that, Company A was cheaper. At that point, they're the same. And then what happens beyond that? Well, right, so then Company B will be cheaper. And so our answer here is, again, it's more than that makes Company B cheaper. Sorry, that's a hard word. So the question to how many miles we need to drive so the Company B's rates are preferable would be more than 184.615 miles. right? Okay, that's our answer for that one. All right. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for watching.